remember specifically the tornado entered Lyon County at 10:01 p.m. Christine called me at 9:55 p.m. and told me that the tornado was going to hit and that the tornado was going to take a specific path through Lyon County. With that being said, at 10:10, our EOC was stood up 9 minutes after the tornado hit, and we were able to direct our first responders to the specific areas of where the tornado's path was. Without that phone call, without that acknowledgement from the Weather Service and that partnership, we would have been basically in the dark of where to go. So we targeted specific roads with things, and that aided us in getting a more rapid response to the people that actually need it. I mean, we've had events where we had to, we're supposed to plan, mitigate, and correct. I mean, that's what emergency managers do. I do remember when I took this job about 4 years ago, my judge executive, his exact words to me was, "I don't need you until I need you, and when I need you, it's real bad." Well, as we kind of know, realistically, you can't do this job part-time. We all put in extra hours and everything else. So yes, if you wait to plan or to attempt to do things when the situation, corrects or hits, you're way behind the eight ball. So I do remember that night specifically over the radio at about 10:11, Catawba Fire was responding to Edible Fire because the tornado went through Edible city limits versus Catawba. But Catawba's chief was on the radio saying he would be delayed because the EM asked him to check on the two long-term care facilities in Catawba before he got to the actual site. That was our planning and preparation. That was our vulnerable population that they couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't take shelter or whatever because they only put them in the inner corridors of the actual nursing homes. So we knew that if that was to be hit or sustain any damage, that would be our main focus versus someone that could get out and mitigate on their own. But yes, sir, the preparation through that, the preparation of, I think also, the TV station. The TV station saying that, when's the last time, and we've talked about this several times, when's the last time that you heard a weather forecaster, meteorologist on the national TV saying, grab a football helmet and get to the basement? I mean, if they had probably exuberated their intensity that was building inside of them, it would have caused sheer panic in everything.
Absolutely.
But they did it in a very professional, a very methodical reasoning. They stressed that it was that, but they didn't stress that this is the end of the world. So with them saying that and the terminology that they used and the heart and everything that they put into it, them along with the National Weather Service and the preparation beforehand, I believe totally saved hundreds, if not thousands of lives. It's also aiding us in that we have 7 churches now in Lyon County that has signified that we have agreements with them that they will be a tornado shelter. Because as you know, the month after this, in January, there was another one that was coming through, and everybody was panicking over it. It's like that pendulum. Once you go through something really bad, you say something just a little bit, and we were saying, please don't say the T word, but they come out and they said tornado. Well, those 7 churches opened up. We made a map of the area, broadcasted that as big as we could for our county. So that night, we housed 221 people. We housed 23 dogs and 11 cats because they actually let them bring pets. And what was so significant about that is churches actually were able to reach new members that have been coming back to the church because they opened it up and they got to know them there. Being in a small community can hurt you and it can help you. The reason I say that it can hurt you is because we don't have the major assets like a large metropolitan city does. We don't have the tanker trucks and the big inloaders and everything else. But what we do have is people with heart, grit, and determination. The next day, tornado hit at 10:01. All of our first responders been up all night long. And then the next morning, I'd made a decision to do a secondary sweep of all the homes to look for secondary victims if there was. So I sent all the first responders home, and we put out a blurb of saying we needed volunteers. That 6 or 8 hours after the tornado, we had 100 volunteers show up to go out, and we had to actually bus them out to the areas with school buses. The school system came in and said, "Hey, we'll help you." We lost communications with our dispatch center, which is the state police. So we were without radio traffic for almost 8 hours. They got hit and they went down. So we dispatched ourselves. The retired police chief, Jamie Green, jumped in the EOC with me, and it was me and her for 8 hours there together, and we were logging stuff and sending people out and everything else, opening triage centers, and it works because everybody played their part.
Sure.
Nobody's, got into the peeing contest of this is mine and that's theirs,
Sure.
and yes,
Sure.
it all worked together.
Sure.